Hello, my Bill for Thousand Nation. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. If not, I hope it gets better from here. We are back with another That Chapter. This one is titled When Cops Discovered the Evil Killers Are Missing. How long did it take them to realize the evil killers were missing? I don't know. I'm excited for today's story and a little concerned. You know what I mean? Like, how are evil killers? Like, I can understand if there's just run of the mill killers, and it's like, yeah, but if it's your evil killer, shouldn't you keep a little bit better of an eye on them since they're evil? All right. I'm excited to get into this story. If you guys are excited as I am, please go ahead, turn them lights down low, put on something comfy, cup with something special. Let's get concerned. Yeah.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video, there was a family.
Hey, Mike, how you doing? You look perplexed today.
Driving their recreational vehicles, their RVs, down the road in upstate New York. This was, in the middle of summer, a very rural part, surrounded by fields and forests on all sides. As they were driving, they heard a loud crack, thinking they had punctured, like driven over something, a wheel had been punctured. They kind of pulled over to the side of the road, got out, examining, all the wheels of the car. However, when they got out, they saw a man approach them from the tree line. He had a shotgun.
Oh, shit.
This story is woof. We got escaped killers on the run, the help they got from the inside in exchange for some really funny bad paintings, and a hunt across upstate New York. Before we get into it, please click that little subscribe button to see new videos every single week. Now, let's give it a go.
I have a feeling this is going to be a very, very weird story, and I'm excited for it.
This whole story takes us to upstate New York, but like, upstate of upstate New York, the tippity.
Okay.
Deep in the Adirondacks lies the small village of Dannemora, population about 4,000.
Ooh.
Now I hear you're barking, big dog. Slow your roll there, Mike. 4,000, that's not exactly, that's small. Well, it is until I tell you the next part. Because there's 4,000 people living in Dannemora, 3,000 of them prisoners in the maximum security prison that makes up most of the town.
Damn.
The biggest prison in the state, that is Clinton Correctional Facility, to you and me. It's interesting, it's kind of like Arkham Asylum from Batman, in that it used to be the Dannemora State Hospital for the criminally insane, which means it's haunted as shit. It wasn't just for people who had mental health issues, though, who committed crimes and that sort of thing. No, this hospital...
I love that. So that means it's haunted as shit. Those poor prisoners. Man, that's crazy.
Hospital was for people who went insane while they were serving their sentence. So the treatment was really top draw. It's sometimes referred to as New York's Little Siberia due to how cold it can get up there in the winters. So that kind of acts like its own little punishment right there. And it's been home to such luminaries as Gangster, Lucky Luciano, Carl Panzram, David Berkowitz, Chris Porco. So big dogs as prisons go. It's hardcore, maximum security, that means real secure. You ain't getting in, you ain't getting out. Okay, I mean, I suppose you're gonna get in if you commit some really sick shit, like do some real sick crimes in New York. You're not getting out though. Unless you're one of the two killers who escaped quite dramatically in 2015 from this maximum security prison.
Oh shit, this was in
then
2015?
launched one of the largest manhunts in recent times. Let's talk about it, because while there's shit you will not hear. Summer 2015, June 6th to be precise, D-Day. In one of the less secure wings of the prison, where the inmates, they could cook and they could watch TV, there were card tables. At 5:30 a.m., roll call for the morning, that's when 2 inmates were unaccounted for. They didn't...
Was this on the news back in 2015? Not just like in New York, but what was it, like national news? Did it make? Because I think I might remember seeing something about it. I don't watch the news, but my mom does religiously. And in 2015, me and my wife was helping take care of her after she got out of the hospital after she broke her back. And I think I remember seeing something about it. I think. Oh my god, I don't know. There's been a lot of prisoners that escape prison anymore, bro. I don't trust it.
Exit their cells like all the other inmates in this wing did. The guards immediately went over to their cells, and they were empty. There was like dummies in their beds. They had last been seen at 10:30 p.m., like the nightly roll call before they would go into their cells. So sometimes during the hours of darkness between 10:30 p.m. and 5:30 a.m., they had somehow escaped a maximum.
What's that game? What's the game where it's two players and like one player plays one person, one player plays the other person. You're in the prison, you have to escape. At the end of it, one kills the other. Spoilers, I'm sorry. What's the name of the game? 'Cause this is what it sounds like. How did they do it? Oh, they put their backs together and they climbed up a pipe.
Security prison. And these two particular inmates had a very long and extensive tapestry of history. Very beautiful.
Oh shit.
Like in the opposite way. Of crimes. I'm talking sexual assaults, burglaries, armed burglaries, regular old assaults, and murders. 3 graves had been filled on their accounts.
So some of the
Their names were
baddest
Richard Matt
people then.
and David.
I'm not saying like the baddest, but like for like common criminal, not like warlord criminals. Yeah, there's some pretty bad fuckers. I mean, look at him. Oh, look. Let me move my booty. It happens. Like he looks like he's got a shady face. Never mind, I retract my statement. He does not have a shady face. We have almost the same face. He has a very trustworthy face.
Sweat. Clinton Correctional Facility at Dannemora. It's impossible to escape, supposedly. But these 2 killers had help from the inside, something they'd been working on for years. Richard Matt was born and raised in upstate New York, near Buffalo, and in 2015, at the time of his escape, he was 48 years old and a mean-looking sumbitch who loved his Dr. Pepper. As a kid, he bounced around foster homes, but soon he heard the calling of a career criminal. And basically, from when he was old enough to go to big boy prison, he was in them, bouncing from term to term for burglaries, rapes, assaults, thefts.
We're gonna dip these in AIDS blood, and we'll put a patent on him. We'll sell him as deadly weapon.
And wouldn't you know it, he had a history of escaping jails and prisons, being locked up, just not for him. So that's some pretty heavy shit, but that's not what got him sent to Dannemora. See, in 1997, Richard and an accomplice, they kidnapped some really wealthy guy from around Buffalo, and they kidnapped him because they were, going to essentially try and get his money. You're going to extort him, beat the shit out of him until he gave them his money. Now, whether he did have money or not, who knows, but they'd kept him in the trunk of their car for over 27 hours, only taking him out so they could beat the shit out of him some more.
Damn.
Eventually, though, they had enough, and Richard Matt broke this guy's neck with his bare hands. They then chopped up his body, threw him in the Niagara River, where parts of him would wash up along the banks in the days to follow. And out of that, by the way, Richard and his buddy, they only got like $100. After the murder, though, thinking that the heat would be on, Richard and his little buddy, they fled to Mexico, to Matamoros, hoping they could lay low down there. Although I also did a video not too long ago about a killer cult that lived there, so maybe not the best place to go. Although for this piece of shit, yeah, go.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So they were in a bar in Matamoros, Mexico, and they ended up drinking with this American fella. When this guy went to use the restroom, Richard followed him in and stabbed him to death.
What was the thing he was holding? Is it like a hookah of some sort?
All for the...
Looked like one of those ski poles, bro. Wow. I'm just wondering. I've seen it 2 times, and I'm wondering what the fuck it is. No, it's a blow dart gun. That's the blow dart gun. They were saying they was going to dip their blow darts in AIDS blood and use them as a weapon. That's shit, bro. That is shit. That's bullshit. I don't care who you are.
The $300 he had in his pocket. Richard Math was then arrested by the Mexican police, and he was such a difficult prisoner to keep. The Mexican guards hated him so much because he was just really violent, really aggressive. He was always trying to escape. Eventually, the Mexican authorities and the American authorities were doing like a trade. Mexican authorities were giving the Americans some big drug kingpin, who the Americans have been after for years. They put this drug kingpin on a plane, sent him back to America. They also snuck Richard Matt on this plane too, and were like, yeah, he's your problem now. You have to deal with him. When the Americans got Richard, they were like, okay, we weren't expecting you, but in you go. He was sentenced to Dannemora. He wasn't due to have any...
How big of a piece of shit do you have to be sent back from Mexico, bro? I mean, am I wrong in saying it? Like, that's... Damn.
parole until 2032. The other missing prisoner was David Sweat, born and raised in the southern part of upstate New York, near the Pennsylvania border, and he was 34 years old at the time of his escape. He was a violent guy since birth, and much like Richard, was in and out of prisons for burglaries for most of his life. However, it was what he did in 2005 that had landed him in Dannemora. David and two buddies, they had robbed a fireworks store just across the border in Pennsylvania. And then they headed back to New York State, and they went into this parking lot and they were moving the stolen fireworks from one car to another when a sheriff's deputy, who just happened to be driving by, he saw him. He's like, what's going on over here? He went over to investigate. David Sweat then pulled out an iron and shot him multiple times before running the sheriff's deputy down in his car.
Damn.
The sheriff's deputy, Kevin Tarsia, was still alive, and so David then got out of his car and shot him twice in the face. He was arrested days later and sentenced to life without parole.
Oh
Two
my God.
very dangerous men. And then in Dannemora, in Clinton Correctional...
It's a miracle the cops even let him show up to court. I'm just saying, bro. Oh, he arrived, but he didn't arrive well.
They somehow became best buddies, right? They bonded. They were like, aren't you great? No, you're great. But this is a case of two very evil, sick men, kind of becoming worse, feeding off each other's worst tendencies, and becoming, like, super evil. Surrounding the prison is marsh, swamp, endless forests, cliffs, you name it. An inhospitable hellscape where the very air you breathe is a poisonous fume, aka beautiful upstate New York. It was folly to escape. This immediately became big news, with every agency you can think of being involved in the search for the two missing killers. US Marshals, ATF, FBI, Forest Rangers from the Adirondacks, Border Patrol, even the RCMP, as they were so close to the Canadian border.
Damn.
Well, just woke up this morning and basically heard cop cars going up and down the road, tried to figure out what was going on.
Residents in the neighborhood surrounding the Clinton Correctional Facility were frightened to hear the news of two escaped prisoners.
There's really never been anything really like this before.
This is the first time
Really?
anyone, let alone two convicted murderers,
cool,
has
though.
ever escaped the maximum security portion of the
See, I'd be scared to death living around a prison like that because, I mean, I'm glad that it hasn't happened before, but no, my luck, it'd be like one of those prisons where it's like, oh, it's a Tuesday. Scared to go outside at all times. Oh, that'd be, what if there's a riot? Oh my God. Let's evacuate the town.
prison since it opened in 1865.
A lot of traffic. They're stopping every car going up or down 374. The intersections, I'm understanding each one of them is being patrolled with COs or troopers with rifles.
The schools in the nearby towns closed down. It was locked down for everyone in like a 10-mile radius. There was a 50...
That would make me so nervous. I would not be able to live there if nope. I would not. That would scare the living shit out of me constantly. Like if that did happen and there'd just be cops everywhere, guns pointed, I get very nervous, people. Like I'm going to feel like everything's out to get me at that point, and I'm going to freak the hell out.
$50,000 bounty per escaped prisoner, which was eventually raised to $75,000. The bloodhounds were out in force and searching. They had no clue where the two men had gone.
Now to the upstate prison break. It's been 4 days since 2 convicted killers escaped that maximum security prison. And
dozens of officers headed into the woods on foot in upstate New York, searching for 2 escaped inmates. Convicted killers David Sweat and Richard Matt have been missing since Saturday.
They could still be here, you know, in the area.
Oh,
Their
yeah.
getaway car or whatever it was didn't show up.
There's heavy police presence outside the village of Essex, 40 miles from the prison. Authorities said 2 suspicious people were in the area, but would not give any more detail.
They had simply vanished into...
Is there like a lot of like wooded cabins and stuff up there? Like, and I know cabins are in the woods. I get it. What I'm saying is like, I know some places have land that belongs to like state and government and stuff like that, and DNR, that some people still have houses on. It's like heritage land, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, it can just keep being passed on through your family. Like, is there any of those cabins out there where people might not be at or people might not know about? I would look there. I mean, I'm sure they found it. I mean, it's a video, so.
The woods. For the first week, there were 0 confirmed sightings of the pair. Panic mode for everybody kind of in the area. In fact, some prisoners in the Dannemora prison would later report that the guards were so, you know, upset about these prisoners escaping and were so panicked to try and find them that they allegedly started beating the shit out of prisoners, demanding to know what they knew about the escape, where they could have gone.
Shit.
You know, it can be hard to track killers on the run, as we are, you know, seeing here.
Yeah.
Extremely hard. But of course, if you didn't want to be tracked, what would you do? What would you do? Why, use NordVPN, of course. Nord, it's the best thing since sliced bread. I use it every single day. I'm always looking for new horror stories, true crime stories, spooky stories to tell, and the best ways to get them is local news. But half the local news, I get this content is not available in your location message. I get it, and I can't believe it. Shaking my fist at the sky. I mean, that's what I used to do. I did use a few different VPN providers before I landed on Nord, and I've never ever used another one since. It is the very best VPN provider you can get. It's incredibly reliable. I can access things anywhere in the world, and guess what? No one can track me. But that's not all Nord do for you. Nord doesn't only keep your location safe and secure, hiding your IP address. Nord also has incredible features like Nord's Mesh Net, where you can safely connect to any other device in the world. Or how about a password manager, a data scanner? Or Nord's Threat Protection, that keeps you safe from any hackers, malicious websites, trackers, phishing, ransomware? No more. Nord's goal is to make the internet better than it is right now. You know, an internet free from censorship, from online surveillance, from online threats. I think we can kind of like 2 thumbs up for none of that no more. So become safer with a click by downloading NordVPN today. And if you use my special little link, that is nordvpn.com/thatchapter, you can get an exclusive deal. Get a NordVPN 2-year plan plus 4 months for free right here at nordvpn.com/thatchapter. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Nord is your all-in-one, keep you safe and private on the internet thing. So give them a go because I use them every single day. Once again, that is nordvpn.com/thatchapter to get a 2-year plan and 4 months for free on top of that. All with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you so much to Nord for supporting that chapter. Now let's get back to our killers on the run.
Discovery that 2 killers were missing came during the daily bed check early Saturday morning.
State police tell us they are checking camps and abandoned buildings in the area.
1 full week now. 2 escaped killers have eluded capture.
This really could have been a movie script, and if you saw it as a movie script, it would have been unbelievable.
So how did they get out of their cells in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
There would be sightings of Richard and David, some 300 miles away near the Pennsylvania border. Other people would see them, you know, strange figures in the woods. They would find in hunting cabins that had been broken into around this time. when it's not hunting season. That kind of stuff. Their clothes were filthy, they were covered in bug bites and mud. They looked like they were two campers who'd gotten lost out in the wilderness of upstate New York. And I suppose they kinda were. People would see what they thought were hikers and stranded campers because the two escapees were so rough looking. But either the two men would flee as soon as they were near anyone, or else were so damn mean looking, the help you're gonna give these stranded campers? Well, you'd think twice, because they looked like they had some damn secrets they would only share with your corpse. But how did they get out of their cells in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
You know the Shawshank Redemption, right? The whole thing where he's like chipping away slowly, and then he eventually breaks through, he kind of gets through the other side of the walls or whatever, the back walkways, and then he has to climb through the shit pipe to get out of the prison. It's the exact same as that. Almost literally the exact same. They started carving holes in their cell wall using tools they'd received from some inside help, which I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
And after doing this for weeks, on the night of, it was go time. They left dummies in their beds.
Picture?
Then it was through this hole they'd carved in the corner of their wall. Then time was ticking. 7 hours before morning roll call.
Some watch issues.
They left notes. You left me no choice but to grow old and die in here. I had to do something. And time to go, kid, written on a real shitty painting of Tony Soprano. From there, it was through the tunnels and catwalks behind the walls. They had to crawl through tunnels exactly like Shawshank Redemption style, very claustrophobic. In fact, Richard Matt got so claustrophobic at one point that David Sweat had to pull him.
We're gonna get this pipe.
They then left another note. Have a nice day, which they also weirdly used to demonstrate their racism towards Asians, which has nothing to do with anything, I guess, but they really just couldn't hold it in anymore. This video, by the way, is showing their exact escape route. They eventually made it out of a manhole in downtown Dannemora, located about 150 yards outside the prison, and from there, it was to freedom. And so what help did they have, like, from the inside?
Yeah, that's what
Joyce
I want to know.
Mitchell was a local of upstate New York. After finishing high school, she got a job at a local factory. Now Joyce, she had a pretty regular existence, nice family life. She had married her high school sweetheart, they had a kid together. But during that marriage, she did have an affair with a co-worker at the factory, and this led to the marriage falling apart. Joyce left her husband for this other guy, and they married each other. However, it was at this factory that she worked at, where they made slippers, if you can believe that. The factory eventually closed down. No more slippers, folks. So Joyce was kind of shit out of luck, shit out of work. But however, wouldn't you know it, the nearby prison, Clinton Correctional Facility, they just happened to be hiring. And so Joyce got herself one of them good old jobs at the tailoring, in the tailoring section of the prison, where, you know, they would teach prisoners how to sew and etc, etc. Joyce, she was reportedly very friendly with the prisoners. She kind of treated them well, she kind of, you know, treat people as you want to be treated. She wasn't there to judge them for being prisoners. And nice. Joyce, it's kind of funny, it's one of these situations where she left her first husband because she was kind of tired of the regular ho-humness of life. She wanted a bit of an excitement, and so she had an affair, and then she married that guy. And then in prison, it was kind of like history repeating itself, where she was kind of bored again, but she really enjoyed, a little thrill, the attention she would get off the prisoners, you know, because obviously there wasn't a whole lot of women in there, so she was like, oh, isn't this great? All the men love me. And, well, you can see what's going to happen. One of her first employees was David Sweat.
Oh my God.
And they quickly took it.
I mean, none of them could have just liked her for her there, Mike. I mean, it's just the fact that she's like one of the only women in there, and you know. That's horrible. Like, I get wanting excitement in your life, but there's a point where you just need to be like, that's not excitement, that's just stupid, and walk away. You know what I mean? This is one of those moments she should have walked away. Ran away.
Liking to each other. As I said, Joyce, wouldn't you know it, she was again dissatisfied with her home life, just bored. She got all hot and bothered by David Sweat. He's dangerous. He's a killer. And he likes me? What? They would even find some quiet time together. Now they have both denied that the relationship was ever sexual. And in fact, you know, who knows if it was. The fact that Joyce and David were a little bit too close was reported to people who worked in the prison. There was in fact an investigation done saying, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself, to Joyce. The investigation found nothing improper, but also at the same time, Joyce and David would go off together and disappear for... So the investigation obviously just wasn't very good. They were clearly banging. Even though they denied you were banging. Like, what else are you going to do? At one point, David was removed from the tailor shop and sent to a different part of the prison, something he was not too happy about. And so Richard Matt, his best friend, then swooped in with Joyce Mitchell. Essentially, where David left off, Richard was there. And so Richard and Joyce began having a few old smoocherinos. She was giving him kisses to his head. Both of his heads. She was very easily manipulated by the two men who were master manipulators. Both were reportedly very charming and all that stuff. I mean, gee, charming people can lie and be criminals. This is mind-blowing stuff. Right. So they got her to provide them with stuff from the outside. I'm talking hacksaw blades, chisels, all the stuff they would use to, you know, dig a hole in their wall. It's like at no point Joyce thought, you know what, this is not a good idea. But she was just so wrapped up in the fantasy that she was like, I'm in. Joyce was supposed to be waiting for David and Richard when they broke out, when they got out to that manhole. She was supposed to be there with her car, ready, so they could, all three of them could drive away together and go on the run together. I get this. They were in fact supposed to kill her current husband. Richard and David were supposed to murder her husband. Just when you think people can't get any stupider, they do. But Joyce, having one last minute realization of remorse, of guilt, of whatever, and realizing, wow, this is really fucking stupid. She wasn't there. When David and Richard, they got out of the manhole, they were expecting her to be there, she wasn't there. They did start freaking out, but eventually they just booked it into the woods. They were also helped by a prison guard. It wasn't just Joyce, there was a prison guard named Gene Palmer, who also was helping the two guys. I don't think he was sucking them off like Joyce was, but you never know. I mean, they were reportedly very charming. No, instead he provided the boys with tools they used to escape. See, he acted as an intermediary between the boys and Joyce.
Palmer was allegedly given frozen ground beef by co-worker Joyce Mitchell that had hacksaw blades and screwdriver bits hidden inside. In a sworn statement, Palmer said Mitchell left a package for me to give to inmate Matt. I then approached Richard Matt and passed the hamburger meat to him. Mitchell is charged with hiding the tools.
This was in exchange for some real shitty paintings the police later found hanging in his house. Well, there's no accounting for taste, I guess. He thought he had some real Rembrandts on his hands. As I said, the search was intense, but the two men had just vanished into the wilderness. This is in an incredibly remote part of the country. They did, however, find a number of cabins in the woods which had been broken into, so police assumed they'd been moving from one to the other, from cabin to cabin. And in fact, they found shit-stained underwear in one, and discovered that Richard Matt was quite sick after he'd ate rotten food he found in one cabin. In fact, the two boys were almost caught numerous times. One time they were actually hiding inside a cabin. The searchers, the authorities, the police, whatever, came up to check this cabin, and they didn't check it thoroughly enough. The two guys were hiding in there, they didn't spot them. The authorities left. Whew, that was a close one. Another time, David Sweat was hiding in a tree, up a tree. An officer was walking literally right underneath the tree. Didn't see him.
A man who owns 50 acres of land there says police told him they think the convicts may be on his property. It's part of 3 to 5 miles of extremely difficult terrain of rocky, dense brush. There are also nearby vacation homes and cabins that have not yet been occupied for the season where the men could be holed up.
The search expanded to the surrounding counties. All the while, the two lads were constantly on the move. The two, still moving throughout the wilderness, separated on June 23rd, 17 days on the run. Damn. David Sweat would say Richard Matt was slowing him down, right? He was cutting him loose. I mean, they were both killers, so it's not exactly like they would have loyalty to anyone, least of all to each other. Richard was, you know, he was older, and he was also reportedly sick, so it's like, it was then 3 days after they separated that a family driving their RV in Franklin County heard a loud bang. They assumed it was a puncture. They got out, all the wheels looked fine, but they noticed this little hole in the RV. Then they could see Richard down the road coming out of the trees with a shotgun in his hand. He'd gotten the shotgun, he'd found it in a hunting cabin. And I guess he was going to try and steal their car, or he was just like, gonna go out with a bang. He did. The family managed to call the police, who, at this time, were never too far away, and Border Patrol agents swooped in via Whirlybird.
Hell
They soon
yeah.
spotted him. He actually coughed, giving away his position, and he didn't run. Instead, he pointed the shotgun at them. He didn't listen to commands to put down the gun, at which point he was shot 3 times. Shot dead. Richard Matt was covered in bug bites and blisters, clearly living in the woods the entire time. However, David Sweat, he was still out there. It was 2 days later that a state police sergeant driving down the road spotted David Sweat simply walking along the side of the road. He pulled around immediately, began flashing the lights, at which point David booked it into the woods. As he ran, the officer got out, whipped out his firearm, and shot David twice, hitting him in the shoulder and the arm. He called for backup. David Sweat was taken to hospital, and he would make a full recovery. He was then taken to 5 Points Correctional Facility, also in New York. In total, David had been on the run 22 days. They had got about 60 miles from Dannemora.
Roz, what a dramatic end.
It was indeed. David Sweat, we're told, was shot twice, but captured alive. It all went down about 3:30 this afternoon, and we're getting our first look at him now. Take a look. This is a still picture from CNN taken just minutes after his capture. CNN is reporting that he was spotted walking down a road wearing camouflage clothing in the town of Constable.
Brother be looking rough. Look at him. Man. He looked like he had it better in prison. Food wasn't much better, but it was the shit you was used to, huh, bud?
Just 2 miles from the Canadian border. When he took off running is when he was shot. Now, right now, we're told he is under police guard at a Malone, New York hospital. His condition unknown at this time. Now, his capture comes just 2 days after his fellow escapee, Richard Matt, was shot and killed by a Border Patrol agent. Believing that Sweat was nearby, some 1,300 law enforcement officers swarmed that area this weekend, hot on Sweat's trail. Now, the 2 inmates launched a brazen escape 3 weeks ago from the Clinton Correctional Facility. That's a maximum security prison in upstate New York, and investigators say they had help.
Yeah, I think I remember this from the
David
news,
Sweat was
bro.
ultimately sentenced to 3.5 to 7 years for his escape, though he was already serving life without parole, so that ain't gonna do much.
And that's all I have to say. Mr. Sweat may want to say something.
Your Honor, I'd like to apologize to the community and the people who felt the fear and felt it necessary to, leave their homes or their community because of the escape. That was never my intent, and I deeply apologize for that, Your Honor.
No, thank you, bud.
Joyce Mitchell, who helped them escape, she was sentenced to 2.5 to 7 years in prison for her role in the escape, for her role in the plot.
Please allow me to start by saying how sorry I am.
Fuck you.
How much remorse I have.
Bro. If you was a dude, I'd be looking at you saying, what was you thinking with your big head or your little head? What the fuck is wrong with you? Prisoners ain't gonna love you. They just love freedom. They're gonna use you, bro. Homie. Ma'am.
For everything that... I'm sorry.
She was...
And you was... Like, I would press charges against her for, like, conspiracy to kill her, old man. Like, if it was gonna happen and she just changed her mind at the last minute, I don't care. That's still gotta be a conspiracy of some sort to murder her, old man. I think she should be in there for that shit, too.
Released in February 2020. Gene Palmer, the painting aficionado, he got 6 months in prison. He ended up serving 4. And a huge investigation was done to find out why and how this occurred. Essentially, 20 people were found to be at fault, though other than Joyce and Gene, none would do time. And Sinead, that is the story of one of the wildest prisoner escapes in recent history.
Crazy.
That's what I would call something else. Real life Shawshank Redemption story of 2 men escaping through a ship pipe, essentially, and making it to freedom. Only they didn't get very far. They didn't get to Mexico. To whatever that place in Mexico he goes to. They got like 60 miles. Betrayed each other, got ate the shit by bugs, and then both got shot. But it's also the story of 2 violent and manipulating people who kind of made it. Almost made it. Kind of, sort of. I hope you took notes, you psychopaths. Thank you so much for watching. It means so much to me as always. Yeah, here, listen, if you're looking for more of that.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Mike. It's always a pleasure being here. Always leave with a smile on my face, even though I shouldn't. All right, I really enjoyed today's story. That was good. I think I remember. I don't watch a lot of news. It's depressing. But I think I remember it. I definitely remember the lady part of it. Like, I was like, wow, that's dumb. She should have known better. All right. I really enjoyed today's story. If y'all enjoyed today's story as much as I did, please go down there, leave a thumbs up. It really does help the channel grow. And if you want, go on over, slap that subscribe button. It might, change your whole outlook on life. Now you're a part of the Bill 5000 Nation. So why don't you just go ahead on over and give it a try? You can just give it a little booty tap, like you can just swipe it, however way you want to do it. I'm going to leave that part up to you, but go ahead on over, peruse that little area a little bit. And if you really want to, go on over and ding that bell. It might work for you. It might not. It probably won't. I'm pretty sure it's just there for the looks. But if it does work for you somehow, some way, jump in on one of my premieres. Go over in the live chat and say, hey, Bill, I just got dinged. It never works, and it worked this time, and it was because of you. Leave a like and dip. That's all you got to do. As always, be good to one another. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Damn, Mike. That was like a fucking video game, homie. That's crazy.